Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday Course in Miracles Zoom meeting. And we are going to continue in the way we've started, in the sense that we'll do some reading from the course, and then we'll have some questions and some chat afterwards. So we're reading from the introduction to the course, the What It Says section, and we're about halfway through it. We had all but finished the special relationship section last time. So we'll wrap that up this time. So maybe a quick synopsis of special relationships. So what we want to remember is that we have two minds. We have a personal mind that the course calls the ego, and we have a Holy Spirit mind, which is not the ego. And as I've said in previous videos, and as I always say in the group, the same way that it was what Kenneth preached always and ever and never changed, is that, you know, what Jesus wants us to do in the course is to look at our ego with him without judging it, without making ourselves guilty for it, without calling it sinful, guilty, or evil. So that's the practice. And then the course talks about, you know, there's a section on how do you prepare for the holy instant, and Jesus pretty much says it's your desire for the holy instant. Now, so straight away, this is saying we have to work towards an experience of joining with the Holy Spirit. And the way that we do that is we join with Jesus in our mind, and we look at our ego. We look at our thoughts, we look at our emotions with Jesus with no judgment. Now, the reason that's so crucial is because the Holy Spirit mind is non-conceptual and non-judgmental. So the only way to join with the Holy Spirit is by being non-judgmental. And you do that with your own ego. And as we practice being this awareness of our thoughts and our emotions, the awareness begins separating itself out from what it's aware of. So I know I'm rehashing what I've said before, but it's such an important point. You watch your ego without judgment, without making yourself sinful, guilty, or evil. You must do that to be joined with the Holy Spirit. You cannot be joined with the Holy Spirit if there's any judgment whatever there. And as we do that, awareness separates itself out from what it's aware of. As the Buddha said, you are what observes and not what is observed. So the two selves become more distinct. They become separated out. And the awareness that I am joined with the Holy Spirit, looking without judgment, begins to shine in my mind. And at some point in time, once I persist with this and I'm patient and I have a sincere desire for it, that awareness is going to shine. And we're going to have an experience of love within awareness, within non-judgmental, non-conceptual mind. We're going to have an experience of an abstract and non-specific love. And that's your holy instant. Now, once you've had that, it changes everything, because you can never, ever really take the ego seriously ever again. Don't get me wrong, you'll slip into it. You'll be watching yourself choosing your ego, but you can never delude yourself that, you know, you're not responsible for how you feel ever again. You'll always know that you're choosing your ego and suffering because you're doing that. It changes everything. And so, you know, if anyone is new to the course or new to practicing it this way, and, you know, I'm going to talk about two minds, and you're like, well, what's a mind? It's all about us getting back to being a decision maker mind. And the decision maker mind is a non-judgmental observer in the cinema with Jesus. That's where we always want to bring ourselves back to. And if we're there, we can be in touch with the thought system of the Holy Spirit. We can be in touch with the memory of the thoughts we think with God. We can be in touch with guidance. But I cannot be in touch with any of that as the personal mind, as the ego. So I must step out of that, and I must be this non-judgmental awareness with Jesus. And again, that's not going to be something you can relate to now straight away, but please remember, all Jesus asks is you look at your ego without judging it, and what you are will tell you of itself. The awareness that you truly are is going to tell you of itself. That will be your holy instant. That's what changes everything. Because once you've had that experience, you know that's what Jesus is asking you to choose. And anything apart from that is a choice to suffer. So when we talk about special relationships, if I am in my personal mind, then my personal mind is born of attack. If I am a self, if I'm a personal self, if I am a physical or a psychological individual, then that means God was attacked. Heaven was destroyed. Heaven's oneness was torn asunder. And that's where all the unconscious guilt comes from that we talk about in the course. And so with that guilt being there, it's intolerable and there's a desire to get rid of it. You know, the one split mind created the entire world as a big movie in order to, you know, hide from God and to be without its guilt by seeing it outside of itself. So the entire world was created so that we would see separateness and guilt and evil and fear and attack. The entire world was created so I would see that outside of myself instead of acknowledging that it's all inside of myself. So this is where our special hate relationships come in. To be without my guilt, I need evil people in the world. Now, the world is just a movie. It was created as an attack on God, as was my body, to limit love. And ultimately, once it's done, it was created as an attack. Once it's done, the world and my body are neutral. It's a movie. It means nothing. So what I am is my right mind, what we will get in touch with in the holy instant. Okay, that's what I really am. And that me is invulnerable, untouchable. It cannot suffer. It cannot endure lack. It is whole. It is complete. It is holy. It wants for nothing. So when Jesus appeared to be on the earth and people saw the image of his body, Jesus wasn't identified with his body at all. He was purely identified with this self, the one that is whole, that is complete, that has nothing but the love and the peace of the Holy Spirit going on, and nothing else. And so, you know, the torture of the body, the death of the body, what people thought of him, the image of his body meant nothing to him because he was identified with this other mind. He had completely overcome the ego mind. We don't know when he did that. The Course doesn't tell us that, but there was no ego. He was completely egoless within the split mind. Okay, so when I make a decision to be Keith, a personal self, an individual, when I choose not to be joined with the Holy Spirit in my mind, when I choose not to be a non-judgmental observer with Jesus, so I'm in this personal mind and all the guilt is there. All the guilt is there. I'm choosing to be a personal self instead of being part of heaven's oneness. And that guilt needs to be projected out. And so we will project it out onto movie characters. So we have movie characters like Vladimir Putin. Now, again, this is a movie. The world and bodies are a movie. It means nothing. It's simply an outward picture of an inward condition. And the inward condition is separation, sin, guilt, fear, evil, punishment, attack. So, you know, Vladimir Putin is simply an outward picture of an inward condition. You know, and so is So is everybody else. So is all the other, movie characters. So is Adolf Hitler. It's a movie character. However, our guilt has to go somewhere. And so we have a massive investment in making the movie real. And this is how we live our lives. We make the movie real. And by doing that, then we're saying bodies are real, individual people are real, and they're guilty. And that's what the personal mind wants to do. So when I'm in my personal mind and I'm feeling irritated or angry or judgmental, then if I'm finding that to be my experience in the movie, it means I am being the movie character Keith. I'm not joined with Jesus as a non-judgmental observer. If I am joined with Jesus as a non-judgmental observer, if I go into the holy instant, then nothing in the world can touch me. It doesn't matter what's happening. They can hammer nails into the body, but I know I'm not the body. Now, again, we're all working towards that. None of us are Jesus yet. But this is the point I wanted to make. So our special hate relationships are the people we need to hate. Adolf Hitler, Vladimir Putin, the next door neighbor, everyone else in your life that makes you feel anger and rage and everything else. A body is just a movie character in the movie. And it would make us feel nothing if it wasn't for our guilt, our own personal guilt that we have to see in someone else. So that's our special hate relationships. Now, again, we only need special hate relationships when we're choosing to be an individual, when we're choosing to be a personality, when we're choosing to be a separate psychological self. We don't need people to hate when we're in our Holy Spirit mind. But in the same way, when we're in our personal mind, the ego mind, there is a massive emptiness because, the ego is the belief that we have rebelled against God's love, rebelled against heaven, torn heaven asunder, ended oneness to be a me. And now we've divorced ourselves from love. So there's this gaping hole inside of us. And nothing fills it. And that's why, we have the ego mantra that Jesus talks about in the Course, where, what the ego drives us to do in the world is like, seek and do not find. We're looking for the bigger car, the better job, the nice wife, the kids we want to have. We're constantly this big black hole trying to fill itself and find happiness with all the things that it wants, trying to add to itself. And so when we talk about special love, we're talking about, our families, our friends, our partner, all these people that we would see as that we love them especially. Now, true love, which is to be found in our Holy Spirit mind, is already whole and complete and wants nothing other than to extend itself. To add to its own joy by sharing. So real love wants nothing. Real love doesn't love to get love. That will be lack. Love is a sense of abundance inside of ourselves, which seeks only to be shared, but it wants nothing back at all in return. And similarly, love is the same with everyone. There's no degrees within it. There's no variation within it. There's no differentiation within love. Love is love. So the ego's love isn't love. Jesus tells us it's a veil drawn over hatred. And what it actually is it's an attack. We're in our life and we're just trying to cannibalize everything. We want to associate with the right people so that we can add to ourselves, so we can have a better image. We want to have the photographs with the movie stars. We want to be seen in the right circles. We seek out the approval of people that we think are powerful or good looking or cool or We seek out the favor of teachers that we're particularly drawn towards, and we want them to think well of us. And this is all cannibalism. It's all about me. It's completely selfishly motivated. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. So even when I'm being nice to someone, I'm really just buttering them up so they'll think well of me. So once love wants something in return, it's a special love, and it's not real love. It's a veil drawn over hatred, and it's an attack on the person. It's an attempt to cannibalism to have what they have. And so when we're honest with ourselves, we can see that that's absolutely what my relationship is. That's absolutely what my relationship with my children is. That's absolutely what my relationship with my friends are, and everything else. That's what we're engaged in, is like special relationships, special hate and special love. And that's inevitable as long as we're in our personal mind, as long as we're in our ego mind. It's all about that. It's all about that seeking and resisting. The resisting and the being against our special hates, and the seeking and the wanting and the cannibalizing of our special love partners. So that's what the ego does. And that's what we're all doing. And Jesus doesn't want us to stop doing that. He doesn't want us to stop. He doesn't want us to choose against it. He doesn't want us to try and fix it. All he asks is, please look at this with me. Please witness this with no judgment. Simply be the awareness that this is what you're doing. Don't stop. Just watch it with me. Because that will dissolve it. What we are will tell us of itself. So that's the entirety of the course. We're looking at what it is we're doing, and what it costs us, which is, the love and peace of God. So we're watching the fact that this is what we're doing, and we're forgiving ourselves for it. That's the process. That's the process. But we look. We don't stop looking. We don't go unconscious in our mind. So that's just by way of a quick recap on special relationships, love and hate. So it's just to finish the section we talked about the last day. We'll slightly dovetail. The self that God created needs nothing. It is forever complete, safe, loved, and loving. It seeks to share rather than to get, to extend rather than project. It has no needs and wants to join with others out of their mutual awareness of abundance. So again, that's what we were saying there. And the more we look at our ego with Jesus without judging it, we simply witness it. We're just the noticer of it, the non-conceptual awareness of it. As we do that, we get more and more in touch of this other self, this awareness. And again, once you've had that holy instant, once you've had that experience of the holy instant, you'll totally get what Jesus is saying here. Because when you have the experience of being that awareness, you get all this. There is no needs, and love is there, and peace is there. And there's no wants or desires or needs, and there's only a desire to extend love. So again, just stick with the forgiveness process, which is looking at your ego with Jesus without fighting it, without changing it, without feeling guilty about it, without doing anything except looking at it without judgment with Jesus, knowing that this decision is what's costing you the love and peace of God in your mind all the time. We do that with no judgment. And that's where you'll have an awareness in the holy instant of what he's talking about here with this other self. The special relationships of the world are destructive, selfish, and childishly egocentric. Again, we're only in them for what we can get out of it. We're only in it so we can be loved, so that we can find some replacement for the love of God, which has created this black hole of emptiness inside of me. And I need someone to fill it for me. I need someone to love me. I need someone to think good of me. I need to cannibalize someone so I have that. Yet, if given to the Holy Spirit, these relationships can become the holiest things on earth, the miracles that point the way to the return to heaven. Now, Jesus tells us in the course, the Holy Spirit does not want to take our special relationships off us. He wants to transform them. And what's the transformation? Well, at the moment, the purpose of our special relationships, our special hate relationships, is so I can continue to be the movie character Keith instead of a non-judgmental awareness in the cinema with Jesus. I can continue to be the movie character and someone else is guilty. So that's what our special hate relationships are for. I don't want to join with the Holy Spirit. I don't want to be a non-judgmental awareness with Jesus. I don't want the love and peace of God. What I want to do is be a movie character. But now the guilt is incredible. And what I need now are guilty people. So that's the purpose of the ego's purpose for these special relationships, special hate, is it wants, it needs people to hate for its own guilt. So it doesn't have to look at its guilt inside of itself. So it's all about, I can stay the movie character and it's not my fault. I can stay the movie character, even though it's because I've attacked God and rejected him. I can be this movie character, but somebody else is the guilty one. I want the separation from God to be real, but I want someone else to be responsible for it. It's not my fault. That person is the reason why we're separate from God. That person is why God was murdered. So that's the purpose of our special hate relationships. And the special love relationships, on the one hand, the ego has set us up because we're seeking things in life that we think will make us happy and none of them will. So that's the seek and do not find. And so ultimately, we're seeking out these relationships to have love. And so we manipulate people and we do what we have to do. We enter into our special relationship bargain so they'll love us and not betray us and never leave us. Or if they do, all that love will just turn into absolute vitriolic hatred, the hatred it always was. So the purpose of the special relationship is the substitution for God. It's the replacement for God. I don't want God's love and peace. I want to find something in the world that allows me to stay being a movie character. But I need to do something about the terrible emptiness of the existence of being a movie character. So I need to cannibalize something. So that's the purpose of our special love relationships. It's also, I can keep being the movie character Keith. When the Holy Spirit takes it over, let's have Jesus explain that. So let's pick it up where we left off. So these relationships can become the holiest things on earth. This is kind of like an echo of what he says in the text in terms of the holiest of all the spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. And even though he says on earth, what he means is in the mind, because the earth is just a movie. So the special hate is our special relationship with the ego. That's really the only special hate relationship we have. All of the special hate relationships in the movie is just a projection of that special relationship I have with the ego in my mind. I want to be me. I want to be separate. I don't want God. I don't want to join with him. I want to be me. So that's the only special hate relationship there. And the only special love relationship is the one I have with the Holy Spirit. So I shouldn't say special love, but my only holy relationship is with the Holy Spirit. And then the relationships that become holy in my life are simply an echo. They're simply a projection of that holy relationship that I have in my mind. Okay, so the world uses its special relationships as a final weapon of exclusion and a demonstration of separateness. Well, why exclusion? Because I love my partner more than I love everyone else. I love my kids more than I love your kids. I love my dog more than I love your dog. So it makes the separation real. I hate that neighbor more than this neighbor. Again, it makes the separation real. So that's why Jesus says, the world uses its special relationships as a final weapon of exclusion and a demonstration of separateness. So when love is exclusive, it's not love, it's a veil drawn over hatred. If love excludes anyone, it's not real love. If I love everyone in the world except one person, it's not love. It's all or nothing. So the Holy Spirit transforms them into perfect lessons in forgiveness and in awakening from the dream. So this is the Holy Spirit's purpose. I can look at how I am responding to the movie, and I know which mind I'm in. So if I'm making the movie real, if I'm angry at the movie and I'm judgmental of the movie, well, I'm making that real. That means I'm in my personal mind. And the Holy Spirit would have me use that to get back into my right mind and look at it with Jesus, non-judgmentally. Again, the world is an outside picture of an inward condition. How I'm responding to it is telling me which mind I'm in. And that's my opportunity to choose to look at it with Jesus, non-judgmentally. So each one is an opportunity to let perceptions be healed and errors corrected. The error of making the movie real, the error of making guilt real in the movie characters, so I don't have to face the fact that I think it's in me. Each one is another chance to forgive oneself by forgiving the other. Now, again, there's only one of us here. You know, another important principle in the course is that you can only keep what you give away. And that, you know, giving and receiving are the same. Well, of course they are. God is one son. It's having a fragmented experience in the movie, but it's just a movie. So by forgiving our brothers, what else could we be doing except forgiving ourselves? There's a movie playing and we're going to put judgment onto the movie characters. We're going to see them as evil so that I do not have to look at the fact that, you know, that's a projection of my own guilt. So all I'm ever forgiving is my own secret sins and hidden hates that I'm projecting onto my brothers. So the people I hate most are the people onto whom I've projected most of my guilt. So they're my greatest salvation. If I can forgive that, I've made some real progress with my own guilt. So again, movie characters can't be guilty. You know, if we watch a Tom and Jerry cartoon, you know, Tom can't be guilty because there is no Tom. It's just a movie. But we want to make the movie real because we don't want to join with the Holy Spirit. We want to be a movie character. But by forgiving the guilt we've projected onto other movie characters who clearly can't be guilty, it's my own guilt. That's how we make progress. That's how we forgive ourselves. That's how we undo our own guilt. And each one becomes still another invitation to the Holy Spirit and to the remembrance of God. So again, that's the outcome, which makes sense. Okay, so we're kind of wrapping up with our special relationship section there. And let's go a little bit forward into the next section of this. Perception is a function of the body and therefore represents a limit on awareness. Now, again, we appear to have a body that sees and hears and speaks and thinks. And Jesus is absolutely adamant in the course that that's not true. The body is a lifeless puppet, and the mind tells it what to do. So anything I think I'm seeing, I think I'm hearing, I think I'm thinking, all of that is simply what the ego, the mind, has told me to believe in the body. So the body does nothing, decides nothing, has no power in and of itself. It's simply a puppet that the mind makes move and think, and tells it what to see and tells it what to hear. So everything perception tells me is a lie. Everything my senses tell me is a lie. Because if we look out there, all we see is separateness, separate people, separate bodies. We see differentiation. We see night and day. We see good and evil. Things getting better and things getting worse. We see holy people and unholy people. All of it's a movie. So as Jesus says in the court, there is nothing so blinding as perception of form. All form is a lie. It is the thought of separateness, sin, guilt, and fear projected out into a movie. Okay, so perception sees through the body's eyes and hears through the body's ears. It evokes the limited responses which the body makes. And the body appears to be largely self-motivated and independent, like it can get sick, can have accidents, can die. So the body appears to be largely self-motivated and independent, yet it actually responds only to the intentions of the mind. The mind tells the body to age, tells the body to have accidents, tells the body to get sick, tells the body to die. If the mind wants to use it for attack in any form, it becomes prey to sickness, age, and decay. If the mind accepts the Holy Spirit's purpose for it instead, it becomes a useful way of communicating with others, invulnerable as long as it is needed, and to be gently laid by when its use is over. Of itself, it is neutral, as is everything in the world of perception. Again, it was all created as an attack on God and to limit love. But once that's done, now all form is neutral. It means nothing. It's just a movie. So back to the body, whether it is used for the goals of the ego or the Holy Spirit depends entirely on what the mind wants. Well, what's the mind? So it's not talking about Keith in this situation. It's talking about the decision maker mind, the non-judgmental observer in the cinema with Jesus, the me that's at the end of the journey, looking back on it, imagining I make it once again. So to speak a little bit about this, time, we experience time as linear. It's not. Jesus tells us time all happened all at once and was resolved immediately. But the carpet spun out and we're experiencing ourselves within that tiny tick of time. But it's an illusion. Time, that it's not like things are moving past, present, future. It's not like the world is like evolving over billions of years. The movie's already made. Everything's already happened. And what we're doing is we're watching again from the end of the journey, looking back on the journey we made, imagining we make it once again. But we're not, because we're not the movie character. And so now this is going to be controversial. Everyone understands the script is written differently. And so I think it's appropriate in this situation to talk about it the way Ken taught it, And you're going to hear lots of different people talk about how the script is written. I personally feel very happy with the way Ken teaches it, and I haven't felt equally happy with any other explanation of it. So I'm going to give it to you, and you can make your own mind up about it. The way Ken taught it is, let's go back to that quote. We're outside of time and space, looking at the movie of time and space, imagining we're in it once again, but we're not. So this awareness that I am, Ken talks about it like, you know, you've gone into a booth where you can watch movies. So awareness, God's Son, the decision maker mind, the non-judgmental observer, is within this booth. This is our metaphor. And there is a movie screen. And there is a vast library of movie scenes on the left-hand side, which is the ego's movies. And we have a vast library of the Holy Spirit's movie scenes. And all of them are already shot. And so, because of the guilt, there is a natural inclination to want to watch the ego's videos. So again, the ego is the desire to be me, to be a separate self. I don't want God. I don't want to let go of my individuality. I want to be me, but my guilt is absolutely horrific. So the ego is there on the left-hand side, offering his videos. And he's saying, right here, look at one of these videos. Like, look at this one. You get really sick in it and you get to feel like the innocent victim. And that gets rid of your guilt. There's no guilt. You can continue to be a movie character, but you can be like really sick. And it's because of this corporation and what they did. And you can feel like really aggrieved by the whole thing. And, you know, you can die and go, behold me brother, at your hand I die. And it's a very tempting thing. It's like, yeah, let me continue to be this personal self, but be without my guilt. So let's pick a lifetime where I'm going to be really sick. Or let's pick a lifetime where I'm going to be, the ego's like, oh, you know, or you could go into this scene in the movie, my video library, where you're imprisoned for something you didn't do for 20 years. So you can get to be like this personal self. You don't have to go near God. You don't have to listen to the Holy Spirit. You can be a me, and you don't have to have any guilt whatsoever, because you're going to have all this victimhood. You're only going to feel like the innocent victim. You don't have to deal with your own guilt at all. And the Holy Spirit is going, don't look at those videos. Look at these videos instead. Look at this video where you get sick. And actually, you are an example for everyone else. Like, I mean, you know, let's pick this video where like you lose both your legs. And actually what you're going to do is completely forgive that. And you're going to become this world-class athlete. And you're going to actually inspire lots of people in the world. And you're going to undo all the guilt. So when it happens, you're going to have all that victimhood and everything. And you're going to forgive that. And that's going to undo your guilt. And when you've watched that video, let's look at this video here where you have a different lifetime. You know, and people have treated you awful and like you're abused and all these things. And in this video, you actually forgive it. And it's undoing your guilt. And the Holy Spirit has said, and if you keep looking at these videos with me, what a day is going to come where you're going to tell me, I don't want to watch these videos anymore. I don't want to be a movie character anymore. I don't want the world anymore. I want God. I don't want to watch any more movies. Don't want to imagine myself in the movie that's already shot anymore. I don't need them. I just want God. So this is the two libraries that are going on here. And so if I'm in so this is just by way of an introduction to what Jesus is saying about the body here. You know, so we want to use the body for attack. You know, that belief system, if I'm a personal self, I'm only a personal self because God was attacked and now he's going to attack me back. and that's in my mind. And so I want to watch a movie with the ego where people are going to attack me and where I'm going to get sick and feel like a victim. So there's only the decision maker. And if he watches the movies with the ego, then there's going to be sin, guilt, and fear. And there's going to be victimhood and sickness. But then if the decision maker decides to be in his right mind, it's like, bring on the movie. Let's watch it with Jesus. What does it have to do with me? And all my guilt getting undone. So I don't need to watch any movies where I'm like victimized, where I like die. I don't need to keep reincarnating. It's like, there's no more guilt, so I don't need any more movies. So that's kind of what Jesus is saying about the body and the body getting sick. Again, the body doesn't decide to get sick. The mind tells it to get sick. The mind decides to watch a movie of sickness with the ego. So I can feel like a victim instead of this horrific guilt about being the victimizer of God. Right, I think I've been yapping long enough. So let's open it up to any questions. Let me change my view here. So if anyone has a question, you can raise your hand. And Lana, would you have questions from the chat box? I think Sandor had one.
Sorry about that. It seemed to be more of a comment.
Yeah, okay.
So you want me to read that?
Please. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, give me a minute. He says, my body, Father, cannot be your son, and what is not created cannot be sinful nor sinless, neither good nor bad. Let me then use this dream to help your plan that we may awaken from all dreams we made.
Very good. So God didn't create movie characters. He didn't create bodies. And so movie characters can't be guilty. Yeah, so that's perfect. So would anyone like to ask any? I have one from Andrea, or Andrea's compadre. So let's go with that, seeing as it's the first one I've seen.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to try and gather my thoughts. So I struggle sometimes to just live in this world, you know, like I think I understand the concepts we talk about on a level, but then living in this world is a different story, right? So like what I tend to do, if something happens, something big happens in my life, I tend to immediately knee-jerk and go, it's okay, you know, and kind of hand it over to the Holy Spirit and spiritualize it. And then I get really angry because I've downplayed it, and I've let someone walk all over me, and it's always to my detriment, and I've spiritualized it, you know?
Yeah, and the problem is it's always to my detriment. So who is the you that's experiencing the detriment? It's the ego. It's the person. Yes. It's the movie character.
Yes. I mean, yeah.
So look, it's really important to understand this. I know this can be. Let me try and do my best to explain this as clearly as I can. Bodies, physical bodies, psychological bodies, Keith, do not make decisions. This is just a projection of what's happening in the mind. It's an outward picture of an inward condition. So the only thing that's going on is which teacher the decision maker is joined with in the projection room. Now, if the decision maker part of the mind is going, okay, if the decision maker is in the ego mind, then Keith is simply going to act out in a certain way. He's going to decide certain things and think he's deciding them. He's not. He's running through the ego's movie. And so you see, it's not really helpful to think that, like, Jolene needs to make a decision. Jolene's just, going to play out whatever teacher the decision maker part of her mind is joined with. And so Jesus says you've no power over what you've made. Now, what he means is you have joined with the ego and decided to watch one of the ego's movies, which is where you can be the innocent victim and innocent. You can hold on to your separation from God, and somebody else can be to blame. You can be the victim, not the guilty one. So that's what's happened. And so whatever's happening in my life right now is only happening because I wanted to be me. I didn't want to be one with the Holy Spirit. I didn't want to be a non-judgmental observer with Jesus. I wanted to be me. And so, the world is going to come at me with, attack and problems and challenges and people treating me badly, because that's what I want. I wanted this movie. Because the most important thing is that I'm without my guilt. I need to watch movies where people do really bad things to me. And I want to do that. And I've picked that movie. And that's so I can go, look how I suffer. Look what you've done to me. In other words, rather than I am a personal self, which means God is attacked, there has been sin, guilt, and there's going to be punishment. So that's the reason why I'm not happy as a personal self. But instead, what I do is I look at the movie and go, no, it's the movie character. It's because of what Tom did. It's not just what, Tom's done bad things to Jerry, and that makes him the bad one. And I'm going to see him as the guilty one. And all it is my guilt. Movie characters, Tom and Jerry are cartoon characters. They can't be guilty. But I can want the movie to be real. And I can want what people do to me to be real. And then I can feel justified in being a movie character myself, but I'm not the guilty movie character. You're the guilty movie character. You did this to me. So I suppose that's a long-winded way of saying, really, once we've got to the point where you're feeling anger and hurt, and then, we tried to be a holy ego by forgiveness to destroy, which is what you did was dreadful, but I'm going to be a good ego, and I'm going to forgive it. So all of that just happened because that's just the ego movie that you're watching. So you have no power over any of that. The only power is to change which mind you're in. And the only way you can do that is to join with Jesus as a non-judgmental observer. Now, when you join with Jesus as a non-judgmental observer, you will watch different movies. Now, it doesn't mean everything is all sweetness and light. There's still guilt in your minds, but you're going to watch the videos with the Holy Spirit. And that video has the sole purpose of you undoing your guilt. You're going to watch the video. You're going to be tempted to see guilt in Tom and in Jerry. And instead, you're going to watch it with the Holy Spirit and go, that's an outward picture of my inward condition. So that's my guilt I've put onto Tom. And I can actually see Tom as innocent because Tom is the Holy Son of God, and the body and what it's doing, that's just a movie. And so the guilt is in me. And I can look at this with the Holy Spirit, and he's going to teach me that the guilt isn't in me either. All I have to do is stop finding everyone else guilty and look at the guilt in myself that I didn't want to look at, and it vanishes. So that's what's going on there. So what I want to say to you is that in any given situation, the only power you have, because you've already chosen the movie, that's what's playing. Now, the only power you have is to switch teachers. If you switch teachers, you're going to see different scenes in the movie than you would otherwise have seen if you stayed watching the ego's movie. And again, the only way to switch teachers is to become a non-judgmental witness. So what we do is we join with Jesus and we watch our ego and its anger and its viciousness and its pain and the torturous thoughts it's having. And we don't fight it. We don't try and change it. We don't feel like we're a guilty, bad ego for doing this. So that all that's wrong. We have one job: join with Jesus so we can look at it without judging ourselves or finding ourselves guilty. So your only job in that situation then, Jolene, is to watch your ego hissy fit with Jesus and to understand what it's for. And what it's for is so you can stay a movie character instead of having God. And you can be that movie character and it's someone else's fault. So that's so what you do is you join with Jesus and you just simply watch it. And you don't judge yourself. Because it's a movie. What Jolene does doesn't matter. It's a movie.
But it's a really hard movie.
But remember, there's,
tired.
but remember the purpose, right? So the problem is, if I am a separate self, then God was attacked and I'm guilty of the destruction of heaven, of bringing down heaven. And now God is going to destroy me. So you must understand the purpose. So the purpose of the movie being hard, you wanted it to be hard. You wanted to be without your guilt. It was like, I want to be separate, but I don't want to be the guilty one for it. So I need to encounter really evil, bad people. And I don't want the guilt of knowing I'm the one that destroyed heaven. So I need other people that can be the guilty ones. So again, we can say the world is hard, but like God didn't create the world. This is our dream. And it's already filmed. It's already in the can. But you are choosing certain scenes that you want to watch.
Those scenes can change.
Remember, but again, remember, you're the scenes that you're watching are what you wanted to watch, so you could be without your own guilt by seeing it in the people that are treating you badly.
Mm.
But Keith, can I just ask? The guilt is not real. The guilt is just a fiction. We say that we want to see the guilt outside of ourselves, but actually the guilt is not real. It's a lie. There's no reason for that. Hey?
Absolutely. Right. That's really good.
Yeah, that's
a really good question. And I have a really good answer.
Yeah, for me, that's been very important to realize that the guilt is the ego's lie. And that when I'm choosing to see it in someone.
But you see, the really, really crucial thing for you to the guilt is utterly illusory. However, the only reason the guilt is illusory is because the ego is illusory. Jolene is illusory. Keith is illusory. So the guilt is absolutely illusory, but that means I have to say, well, then the separation never happened. So the world never happened. So Keith never happened. So Jolene never happened.
Okay.
And then we're like, oh no, wait a minute. I need the guilt to be real.
It is such a big step, isn't it? It's like it's a very big step to live in this world and say, it's okay. It's not real, and not act.
And again, so what you don't want to do is skip steps. All you're asked to do is watch how much you want to be a movie character.
Okay.
Instead of being with God, and that you don't want to let it go. And you want to believe in the movie character's thoughts, and you want to believe in the movie character's victimhood. And that, your only desire is that you can be this movie character and not have God. But without your guilt. So you need other movie characters who will behave abysmally towards you. And so you can experience yourself as the victim instead of the victimizer of God. So you can remain separate. You can stay a movie character instead of join with the Holy Spirit and go home to God. So all you're asked to do is just watch that with Jesus, knowing what it costs you and noticing the fact that you don't want the love of God. You're too afraid of it. What you want is to be separate. What you want is to be victimized, because you see, if I'm suffering, that means there's a me. Yeah. That's what all this is about. If there's love, there's no me. Because in my Father's arms, there's no me. There's just oneness.
And it is scary. It is scary to choose love. It's scary.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Yeah. It's too much.
Yes, it is. So what you need to get in touch with is that, that fear that I'm too afraid of not being this body. I'm too afraid of not being this illusory psychological self. I'm not ready for the love of God. And then you forgive yourself with Jesus. And that's all you're asked to do. Forgiveness is looking at the ego without judging it.
But it's weird the way it presents, the like being scared of love. It's weird because it's like my whole life, all I wanted to do was to get out of this body, to leave this life, because I've hated it. I've really hated living and being here, severely. But yet I do see the choice of suffering now. Yep. I see it. And it's not clear. It's not the way you would think it would be, because if I were given the choice to leave right now, I would, but I don't. I don't do that.
The movie character thinks that, but that's not true. Your decision maker wants to be here, and it's watching this video with the ego. This is what it's chosen. See, you think, no, if I had a choice, I'd choose a happy dream. But we don't want a happy dream. We need one we can get rid of our guilt in. We need one where we can be attacked instead of being the attacker. And so, again, your desire to free yourself from the dream, all that's doing is making the dream real. So again, it's really important, and this is crucial, right? It's really important to understand that the purpose of this course is not you awakening from the dream. That is not the purpose of this course. The purpose of this course is for you to have a happy dream. So there's no get me out of here. If I wasn't in the world, it'd all be fabulous. That's not what this course is about. That final step where the world is undone and there's no more movies, that's a step the course says God takes. It's actually automatic when we've undone our guilt. But that's a really crucial thing to understand, is that this course is about you having a happy dream. So in other words, your very desire to leave this world and hate this world, all that means is that as a decision maker, you're watching the movie with the ego, because you're making it real and you're giving it power over you. Yeah. You're saying, wow, you did this to me. If you joined with the Holy Spirit and watched the videos with him, you are whole and complete. And you have the memory of God's love and peace and joy in your mind. But instead, you want to be a me. You want to be an individual. And so really, part of this journey with the course is letting go of the ego telling us to hate the world and to want to be out of the world. Our job is to have a happy dream, which means this has nothing to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind. I have to become invulnerable. I mean, I am, in my right mind, I am invulnerable to the world, but I've got to get to a place where I, once and for all, choose that place in my mind where the Holy Spirit is and reject my ego. And then the world is it's the real world, and it's beautiful. It just shines with light, and everywhere I look, all I see is love. And that's the purpose of A Course in Miracles. So the undoing of the dream, that's God's job. It's the very last step at the end of things. My job is to actually see a forgiven world and extend nothing but the love of the Holy Spirit everywhere to all the movie characters. Okay, so Lana, would you have an idea who is next? Because I kind of don't.
Yes, I can't think of her name. Tina. Tina's next.
Tina, go for it.
Is she here? Tina?
Okay, so we move on to someone else. Maybe Christina's gone to
Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay, go ahead, Tina.
Yeah, pardon me. Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Keith. I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but Tina, the character, has a lot of body pain. So she Tina, the character, is definitely playing a victim and throwing all of the guilt onto her own body instead of projecting it out onto other people. So that's the point where I'm at. And I don't see the happy dream at all. I'm still looking at just trying to look at myself without judgment and not feel guilty for having migraines, not trying to say it's my fault and there's something that I have to do to cure these damn things. I've tried a million things and nothing works. So I just try to look now at Tina getting migraines and not judge myself for it or forgive myself. But I definitely still see the ego and the hate and the ugliness of all of this world. You know, I'm not close to the happy dream at all, but I just want to confirm that that's the process, is just to look at Tina getting migraines. She's always going to get migraines likely, and she'll always be a victim. And Tina, the character, will always have guilt and hate. I just have to start separating that part in my mind and looking at her so that I'm getting back into the Holy Spirit mind and not judging her for her life falling apart and everything going to shit.
Yes. So Jesus, look, I mean, you know, very shockingly in the course, you know, Jesus tells us that, you know, as we progress, we'll be laughing with the Holy Spirit at starvation and famine and death and war. You know, and we'll be laughing at people dying. Why? Because it's a movie. And so what we don't want, you know, the whole purpose of this, you know, you could boil Jesus's course down to this. Our job is to laugh at the tiny mad idea finally. You know, into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. That's where it all went wrong, not with the tiny mad idea, but with not laughing at it.
Making it real.
Making it real. So, so that's where we're going with this. So if anyone thought this is a course on fixing the world and ending war and ending poverty and, you know, all of these things, well, you know, sorry to be the one to break it to you. This is a course about laughing at it. Now, I don't mean that in a sneering way or a lack of compassion, but I do mean that this is a movie. That's all this is. Now, our ego is massively invested in making this movie real, because that's the only way I can be a me without my guilt. But where this course is going is that we laugh all this off. So, you know, so and again, that's, you know, easier to do with someone else than it is myself. But the point is, everything that's happening in my life is happening because I'm watching the ego's movies, so I can be a victim, and so that I can be victimized and attacked instead of knowing myself to be, you know, the destroyer of heaven, to have this separate self. And so, you know, this is the mistake a lot of people make. It's like they get sick and they go, okay, well, I did this to myself. That's not true, because the thing is, Tina didn't do anything. Tina's a projection. Tina's a movie character. Tina didn't make herself sick. You know, movie characters can't make decisions. So the really crucial understanding is you're not Tina. Now, there's a massive investment because we all want to be the movie character, but it doesn't change the fact that you're not the movie character. What you are is the mind that's projecting it. You know, what you are is the mind that's, you know, sitting in the booth, picking videos that you want to watch. So again, you know, when we find ourselves sick, I don't go, oh, there you go, Keith, now you've made yourself sick, because Keith didn't do that. He doesn't make decisions. Keith is just an ego script that's like running. Like there is no Keith, there's just thoughts happening. And then there's a thought that I had those thoughts, and none of it's real. Keith's a movie character. And so again, there's no culpability in the movie character. So the good news is, you know, it's not Tina's fault that she's sick. The bad news is that's because Tina doesn't actually exist. Tina's a ghost. So it's all down to which mind you're in. And so the only power we have is to switch teachers. And we switch teachers by joining with the Holy Spirit as a non-judgmental awareness. And again, the only way you can do that is to watch. You know, again, all the thoughts of victimhood that are coming up for you about being sick, that's actually the victimized, that's actually that's actually the guilt that made you watch the sick video. So when you're sick and you're like, why is it so unfair? Why does it happen to me and it doesn't happen to someone else? Why isn't someone else's life in the toilet? Why do I have to be the victimized one? Why is my life ruined? So that's what you want to look at, is the thoughts you're having about it, because that's your guilt. And you picked the video so you could have those thoughts, rather victim thoughts instead of victimizer thoughts. So the only meaningful thing for you to do is join with Jesus in the cinema as a non-judgmental observer and watch the movie character Tina and her thoughts and her emotions and forgive it. And the part of you that's forgiving the movie character Tina isn't Tina. So that's what's really important there. There's only one thing ever to do, which is to switch teachers. And the way you switch teachers is you let go of judgment. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have judgments in your mind. Just don't judge yourself for the judgments. So you want to watch the feelings of victimhood that are coming up and know you watched the movie so you could have those victim thoughts instead of acknowledging that you victimize God and that his retribution is going to be horrific. So all you do is you watch your thoughts and feelings with Jesus without judging them. And as you do that, the you who's with Jesus in the movie theater will start to shine. And there will come a point where you can turn to Jesus and say, well, what does it have to do with me? What does movie Tina have to do with the me that's an awareness here in the cinema with Jesus, looking at movie Tina and not judging her? So, I mean, so again, if you are feeling guilty about being sick, you are doing the course backwards. It's wrong. That's the ego's movie. So the only thing you want to do is get in touch with how sad and unhappy and victimized you are and look at it with Jesus and not judge yourself. That's all you do. That's how you switch teachers. And that is how you switch video libraries to the Holy Spirit library. So, as you look at it with Jesus, you will undo the guilt that seems like it's, so all the emotion that seems like it's coming up because you're sick. See, in the ego's video library, cause and effect is reversed. So it seems like you're sick and you're having a response to it and a reaction to it with your thoughts and feelings. But actually that's illusory, because what's actually happened is all that guilt was there first of all, and it's the reason you watched the sick video. And remember, the only purpose this world has is as a classroom where I can learn there's no world, where I can undo my guilt. So, in terms of you practicing the course, one of your big classrooms right now is this movie that you're watching. And your only power is who you're going to watch it with. You're going to watch it with the ego, where you'll continue to be a me that suffers, or are you going to watch it with Jesus and forgive yourself for all the victim thoughts and the unhappy thoughts and the angry thoughts and the hate thoughts? All Jesus wants you to do is he's just saying, will you just look at that with me without judging it? Don't take the tiny, that's the tiny mad idea. Will you just look at the tiny mad idea with me And please don't judge yourself. Please just witness it with me. And if you do that, I will have your true self shine in your mind until you choose not to watch any more videos. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. And the tiny mat idea is like 1 billion years ago. The one split off mine into a billion pieces, right? The script that's already written. So this is my script. And I can either put on my guilt glasses or I can take the guilt glasses off. Because it's...
Yeah. So you're, you know, as you practice looking at your unhappiness and your anger and your pain and your hate, and in response to the sickness and your victimhood, and you watching all that with Jesus without judging it, he's going to have your true self, you know, you as a decision maker joined with the Holy Spirit. He's going to have that shine in your mind until you can say, but what does it have to do with me? So the body is sick, but what does that have to do with the me that's in the cinema with Jesus? Now, when you've done that, you've actually undone all your guilt that's causing the sickness. So that might result, well, look, it will result in you having a better video that you're watching with the Holy Spirit. Now, maybe that video is that a new medicine comes out. Maybe that video is that you have a spontaneous remission. Maybe that video is that you lower the symptoms and it becomes much more manageable. Or maybe that's that, you know, you learn some pain management technique, which means you don't acknowledge it. So I can't speak for what the Holy Spirit's video is for you undoing all this guilt, but something will change. But again, that's by undoing the, remember, the movie you're watching is because of your guilt. So the only thing you can ever do is look at how you are responding to the video, which is what you wanted. So your guilt could be outside of yourself instead of in yourself. And if you forgive it, now that's what's changed in the video library. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. It does make sense. And
so again, there's nothing for you to do except join with Jesus and go, you know, and forgive yourself. Be a non-judgmental witness of what your ego is doing. There's nothing else for you to do except that. You know, at some point you'll feel Jesus's nudge, which says, what does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with the you that's here with me? At some point you'll feel that nudge. But, you know, with our forgiveness process, it's a 3-step process. The first is that we come out of the world and back to our mind. And this is what I'm saying to you in terms of, you know, you're watching this video and it's giving you what you want, and it's giving you the emotional reactions that you want to have instead of acknowledging the guilt inside of yourself. So all I'm saying is you now watch that with Jesus and you forgive it. And that will undo it. The 3rd step will take care of itself. The undoing of your guilt, the improvements to your health, in whatever way that will manifest itself. So the only thing we're ever doing is changing teachers, becoming a non-judgmental witness in the cinema with Jesus, and forgiving our decision to watch the ego's movies. That's the whole of it. Does that make sense? The 3rd step will take care of itself. Yes.
And you can go in and out of the non-judgment and then back to the ego.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Like so ping pong. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Because I do feel that often with my mind. It's like in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, we all are. We all are.
Okay.
Yeah, we all are. I mean, the truth is, you can't really be, like, you can't be, as a decision maker, you can't be joined with the ego and the Holy Spirit at the same time. You know, it kind of feels like we can, but it's exactly what you've just said, is that we're just ping-ponging. So that can happen really rapidly, so you're not even aware of it, or, you know, much slower, in which case you're going, oh, I'm spinning in and out. But like, that's the purpose, like, you know, that's the purpose. You just keep going back to the place of peace inside of yourself, and leaving it and coming back to it and leaving it and coming back to it until it starts to shine and until it starts to feel like home. And until you're ready to move in permanently. But again, that's a gradual thing. We've got to undo our fear of not being a personal self.
Right, which can take years, right? Like, it's important to be patient because it's not usually an immediate thing like Eckhart Tolle's awakening or Kate Greaves' immediate. It's usually gradual, is it not?
See, Jesus isn't asking us, listen, drop your ego and join with the Holy Spirit and come on. That's not what he's saying. All he's saying is, will you watch your ego with me without calling it sinful, without feeling guilty about it, without trying to hide it from yourself and from me? Can we just watch your movie character with no judgment whatsoever? That's all he's saying. He's not saying drop your ego. He's saying, would you please just watch your ego with me without judging it? And I'll do all the rest. I will make awareness shine in your mind until you will do nothing else other than choose that awareness against your personal self and return home to heaven with me. All he's saying is, will you please look at the thoughts you don't want to look at? Will you look at the horrible feelings, the horrible hate you have, the awful thoughts you have? Will you look at them all with me? And please don't call it, don't make the tiny man idea seriously. None of it matters. All of it's an illusion. I know that you don't. Will you just watch it with me? And please don't judge yourself, and please don't feel guilty about it, and just be a witness. And within that witnessing mind, I will bring you to heaven. That's all he's asking. So any idea that I'm just going to drop my ego straight away, that's just completely unrealistic. It's the ultimate goal, but that's Jesus' job. It's not yours. Does that make sense?
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much,
Good.
Keith.
Lana, how are we doing, Lana? We got anyone else?
You're doing great. There's 2 questions from Judith in the chat.
Okay.
The first one is, any suggestions for dealing with loneliness and isolation? And the second one is, what if we tend to attack and judge ourselves most of all? Does the process or suggestion differ in any way if this is the case? Many thanks.
So you see, again, movie characters, who asked the question? Who was the questioner there, Lana?
Oh, sorry, Judith.
Judith. So the movie character Judith does not decide to feel lonely or have a choice about feeling lonely or not feeling lonely. So Judith, the movie character, is just doing what the movie in the ego's library has done. So Judith, not Judith, the non-judgmental observer, the decision maker part of your mind, has decided to watch a movie where there's not enough people to engage with, and where I want to be Judith. I don't want God's love. I want to be Judith, and I want to have people love me in the world instead of God. I want to stay being Judith, the movie character. I don't want God's love, but I want the movie character to be happy. But egos can't be happy. Egos are fundamentally empty. Nothing in the world fills us. There's many people on this call who are surrounded by people and they're lonely. Everyone's lonely because nothing anyone does for us is enough. None of it will replace God. None of it will give me lasting peace. And even then when I think it has, and I'm like, no, this is good, someone's going to die, or someone's going to cheat on me, or that ego movie is just lining it up so everyone will fail me one at a time. So we don't get married, we don't watch our marriage video with the ego in order to live happily ever after. We're watching that marriage movie where I set up everyone to let me down. The ego knows nothing can make me happy. The ego knows nothing can take away my loneliness. So the real purpose of it all is that everyone in our life fails us. So, some people are on the call and they're saying, well, I would be happy if my partner just give me the time of day, stop treating me like dirt, just showed me a bit of affection instead of coldness, wasn't such a miserable fecker, money. And then we have Judith there, and Judith's like, well, no, I would be happy if I just had someone in my life. So the problem, see, again, we don't want to, this course is all about realizing that there's no happiness in being a movie character. All the happiness is coming out of the movie and sitting in the cinema with Jesus. And so what I would say to anyone that's experiencing loneliness is, for the love of God, watch that loneliness and sadness and victimhood that's in you. Now, remember, you chose, as a decision maker, you chose to watch that video, so you could not have your guilt. Now you can feel like, look how victimized I am. Look how the world treats me badly. Look how I have no one. And all of this is it's for God's benefit. So I can say, God, look how I suffer. I'm not the one that's to blame for separateness. I'm not to blame for the movie. Don't destroy me. Destroy the people that have let me down. Look how I suffer. So that's the purpose of the movie. So again, none of us can be happy as the movie character. There's no happiness in choosing to be the movie character. Jolene, Andrea, Keith, Tina, Dee, Lana, Elizabeth, Keith, Vanessa, Jet, Marcia, Michael, George, Dee, Sheila, Nikki, Elia, Daneka, Wendy, Lee, Jenny, Linda, Pat, Lynn, Freddie, Christine, Fanning, all movie characters. All cartoon characters. Cartoon characters can't be happy. They're watching movies where they'll be victimized. They're watching movies where people will let them down. They're watching movies where they're going to age. And they're watching movies where they're going to get sick. And people will betray them and let them down and die. And the cartoon characters aren't choosing that. The decision maker part of the mind wants that to be its experience instead of having God's love. It wants separateness, but it doesn't want to be responsible. So it's my body's fault. It's my age's fault. It's that virus's fault. It's that disease's fault. Look how I suffer. So the decision around the loneliness is exactly the same as it is for everything else. Stop wanting to stay an individual self and be happy. You can't have both. It's like Jesus says in the course, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So the ego wants to be right. It's like, I have succeeded, I have destroyed heaven, and I can be happy. I can find a substitute for God's love. Which isn't true. And then really all I'm doing is setting people up to fail me so I can feel like the innocent victim. So for everyone on the call, we all fall into the trap of thinking I can be a happy cartoon character. But you can't. As long as you're thinking as a personal self, as a psychological, physical self, what you have done, it simply means that you're watching the ego's video library, which means everything's going to go to crap. So you can keep your separateness, but not be guilty. So there's no happiness in the movie. All the happiness is in the movie theater with Jesus. Now, in the beginning, when I'm looking at my ego and forgiving it, not judging it, I can only switch teachers. I can only switch video libraries if I look at my ego, my thoughts, my feelings without calling it guilty, without calling it sinful. I want to look at how much I want to be a movie character and suffer rather than have God. I want to look at that and I want to forgive myself for it. If I do that, now I'm in the movie theater with Jesus. Now, in the beginning, that's going to feel a little bit neutral. I'm going to be feeling like I'm imagining Jesus. I'm going to be, there's not going to be anything spectacular happening. It's all going to feel a bit neutral. But if I persist with that, if I continue to watch my ego without judging it, I don't look away, I just watch with Jesus, regularly say to yourself, well, what does it have to do with the me that's with Jesus in my mind? Now, again, that'll feel neutral in the beginning. If you persist with that, the you that's with Jesus, watching your ego without judging it, will shine. And then you can never believe in loneliness ever again. You just need one moment in the holy instant. But once you get that experience of love in the holy instant, it's game over for the ego. Its days are numbered, because once you've had that experience of the love of Jesus in your mind, you'll realize that loneliness is a decision. You're not going to get that straight away. So all I'm going to ask you to do is trust me and watch your thoughts of sadness and victimhood and lack and loss, which is the movie you wanted to watch, so you didn't have to look at the guilt in yourself. All I'm saying to you is, watch with Jesus your thoughts and your feelings like that, and feel his love beside you. That's all you're asked to do. He will do all the rest. He will cause the you in the cinema to shine. And you'll never be able to convince yourself 100% ever again that you're a movie character that's being victimized. I hope that's helpful. So the second question was, refresh my memory, Lana. There's the second question in the chat box. It was about judging yourself.
Yeah, just 1 second, please.
Yeah.
Yes, Judith. Okay, her second question was, what if we tend to attack and judge ourselves most of all? Does the process or suggestion differ in any way if this is the case?
The ego does not mind which way you suffer, as long as you suffer. So as long as I'm in the movie character mind, as long as I'm the cartoon character Keith, the ego does not mind where my suffering comes from. It doesn't matter if it's my body being sick. The ego doesn't care if it's a movie about people attacking me and crucifying me. The ego doesn't care if it's about me feeling, the movie character feeling guilty about what they've done in the past and they can't forgive themselves. The only thing the ego cares about is that I believe I'm the movie character and I'm suffering. That's all that the ego's video library is about. Be a movie character, which means heaven was destroyed, you're God's killer, and suffer. And if you suffer, God's going to get someone else instead of you. And then you see where that slightly differs in the sense of when I'm my own worst enemy. This is a decision to actually punish yourself. So this is something Jesus talks about in the Course, where we usurp God's role, not only as creator, but as judge. And we actually make ourselves suffer. And we do that to sort of limit our exposure to God's punishment. Because if he sees me suffering and punishing myself, he might let me off the hook and go after the guiltier ones out there. So again, all you want to do is look at how much you want to be a movie character that punishes itself, that makes the movie real, makes the past in the movie real, and holds it against yourself, makes illusions real, makes the cartoon real, and how much you want to do that instead of having the love of God. And the only thing Jesus wants you to do is watch that with him. And if you watch all that masochism, if you watch all that self-hate, all of it has its origins in you believing you've attacked God. The movie is just a way of disguising it. So the specifics don't matter. All Jesus says is, please look at that with me. without calling it sinful, without judgment, without conceptualizing it. Well, you just watch your ego doing this to avoid God's love with me, and I'll do all the rest. I will separate out your two selves. I will make the real you that's invulnerable, that can't suffer, that has nothing but wholeness and holiness and the peace that surpasses all understanding shining in its mind as the memory of heaven. I will take care of all of that if you let me look with you. But I can't look at you unless you're simply a witness to your ego without fighting it, without feeling guilty about it, without judging yourself, without making the tiny mad idea serious. Will you look at it with me? And trust me, if you do that, we will laugh at that tiny mad idea together. So I hope those are helpful. Have we anything else, Lana?
Okay, Philomena had a question in the chat. Let me read it. She says, question for Keith. I'm not sure how to act when I want to share very much any profound teaching like this session with a close friend who is not a Course in Miracles student and is burdened with bodily pain and suffering, and yet is in deep study of Advaita Vedanta teachings, and she keeps in suffering. I found so much healing that I just want to help her. I've offered to study the lessons with her, but she has not taken up my offer. So what do I do with this desire to share and always feeling she is not ready to hear? And I see she wants a special relationship with me to help her while following her own path. Do I still share?
Okay, so this is the trap we all fall into. So this question is from, give me the name again, Lana.
Philomena.
Philomena. So the movie character Philomena wants to help another movie character to overcome a movie illness. So can we see where this is going? Okay. So, you know, when I join with Jesus, I am stepping out of being a body and a psychological self to be the non-judgmental observer in the cinema with Jesus. So this is an opportunity for me to realize, that the purpose of us doing this, and please don't anyone get upset if you can't visualize the cinema or you can't visualize Jesus. This is a metaphor, right? I don't visualize a cinema. This is a metaphor for what we do, which is that we step back from being, we spent our whole life thinking we're just a body and a psychological self with its own private thoughts. And we're learning to step back from that and be the witness to it. And that witness in the cinema with Jesus can't be sick. It can't be unhappy. The memory of God's love is blazing in our right mind in the cinema with Jesus. And so always it's about us stepping out of the movie screen and watching the movie character I want to be and forgiving myself for wanting to be it, because it's a fiction. So in terms of how we help someone else, there's a massive problem with me being like a movie character and wanting to make all the other movie characters follow A Course in Miracles because it'll all be fabulous, but it's just a movie. Jesus tells us in the Course, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. And that the atonement is that the separation from God never happened. The movie's not real. So the only thing, the problem here is what you teach someone else's mind, you learn. It's like Jesus was telling us in the excerpt we were dealing with today. Like, I mean, there's just one of us here, giving and receiving are the same. So the problem is that what's being made real here is that your friend is a body and a suffering psychological self. That's what's being made real. So this is what you would call healing to destroy. So in the same way in the Song of Prayer pamphlet, Jesus talks about forgiveness to destroy. And that's where you first of all make the guilt real. Okay, you murdered my goldfish, and that was evil and terrible, but I, being the holy ego and the virtuous one, I grant you my forgiveness. So that's not forgiveness, that's forgiveness to destroy, because it's made, it's made the sin real and then tries to forgive it, which is absolutely impossible. So in the same way, healing does not make sickness real. It does not make unhappiness real. It does not make anxiety or depression real. It does not add fuel to the mind that it's the movie character. What it does is it communicates to the movie character that it's not a movie character. So what I do is I step out of being the movie character Keith to be a non-judgmental awareness with Jesus in the cinema. And then what I do is I communicate to the mind of others that that's what they are as well. They're not a body, and they're not a suffering me, an unhappy me, a sick me, a depressed me. They're not that. What you are is this awareness in the cinema with Jesus. So healing is where you see everyone as a non-judgmental awareness in the cinema with Jesus, the Holy Son of God who can't be sick. We don't make the movie real. Now, that does not mean at the level of form that we ignore someone's needs on a physical level. All right. But what it does mean is that we join with Jesus in the cinema and we express love in whatever way feels right, or we feel guided to express it. But we don't make the problem real. We don't make the movie real. We don't make the tiny mad idea of separateness and all the suffering real. So the only thing you do with your friend is you sit in the cinema with Jesus, watching yourself engage with your friend, and in your friend you see nothing but God's holy and innocent Son. And you don't make the illusion real, even as you help and as you watch your avatar helping at the level of form. You as a mind are not making it real. In your mind, there's no sickness. That's what healing is in the Course. Because awareness can't, what I am in the cinema with Jesus can't be sick. And I'm not the movie character. And if you see your friend as a sick movie character, you have to see yourself as the movie character instead of Christ. Because what we teach other minds about what they are, a body, sick, insane, guilty, we have to experience for ourselves. So what we teach others about themselves, we must learn. That's the law, because there's only one of us here. Now, I hope I answered that question. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. So shall we go with Christine? As soon as I see your hand up, Christine.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say hi and come on and let you know that maybe just say it out loud in the community as well and see what I just get. I'm even getting awarenesses as I listen to the last few minutes of how things, the nuance of like being observer has stepped me into more of a happy dream.
Good.
Very much ping pong. And I suppose a little example would probably help to give the picture. I can think of just even last night. I found myself, on my phone and watching, got gravitated towards these series of videos of someone interviewing addicts on the street and their stories. And I could feel myself like getting like emotionally invested in watching it. And then I also was judging myself because I thought maybe I should be downstairs trying to connect with my husband who was just home for the weekend. And so, all these things were going on. And then I just went into so much laughter with observing all of it. And also what was new for me is more and more that's happening now is I was able to say, laugh at myself for admitting that I was going to sit and just get invested in the videos and continue. And it turned to be so light.
Yes.
Because there was nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
But there was no meaning to it either. And but there was also, you know, that presence of like, you know, an admittance that it's the movie character. So why would it mean anything? And just to add to that, even, you know, I'm getting that more and more and more, the inspiration to go to that place and observe. And when anything is special, like in happiness or sadness, you know, anything intense, I seem to go there more and observe it. And it seems to be bringing like a flow and synchronicity. And usually I witness synchronicity in symbols and images and things, and it just is like, I guess that's the happy dream. It's just like a flow, but nothing is right, wrong, or good or bad. Like,
yeah, we're all working towards the happy dream when our guilt is undone and we can see a forgiven world, and we're laughing at it because none of it matters because it's a movie. And so you see, what I want to point out is just where you say, I'm starting to notice synchronicity. Now, what that means is simply by the act of observing the whole crap show with Jesus without judging yourself for it, you've switched video libraries. So you're still watching the same movie that's already shot, but now actually the scene where previously there would have been a certain thing happens and there's conflict and there's judgment and there's victimhood. Now the same thing happens in the Holy Spirit, and instead we're undoing our guilt in it. This is the Holy Spirit's video, and now what happens is in this video there's guidance. I actually feel supported. Actually, everything doesn't have to turn into a crap show. I don't have to feel alone. And this is the Holy Spirit's video, which is just, and the only thing I have done to watch this different video is I have watched my ego without fighting it, trying to change it, or trying to feel guilty about it. That's all I've done. And I've switched video libraries, and now there's guidance and there's synchronicity.
Yeah. And it is,
Wonderful.
I would have to say, compared to being spiritual, you know, and being right in my spirituality, you know, in the ego sense of attempts before, I see the simplicity of it. It's definitely, you know, it's not easy, but it's definitely so simple that it can be, you know, so it's, it's just, I mean,
it is. The whole thing is really simple and it's really easy. The problem is our resistance.
Yeah.
The problem is how terrified we are of not being this individual personal self with private thoughts. That's the problem. So the whole thing is absolutely simple, because you don't have to read the Course in Miracles. Miracle principle number 1, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or easier than another. Why? Because it's a cartoon movie and it's already over. So the whole thing is very simple. The movie is neutral. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. You're projecting all the meaning onto it, and all you have to do is watch it with Jesus without judgment.
Yes. I would have had a lot of kind of spiritual superiority, or am I subscribing to the right thing, and, you know, making decisions like that. And now I feel a lot more free and to do whatever the hell I want.
Once you've had an experience in the holy instant of that love, concepts are never important ever again.
Yeah, I get that. So thank you.
Pleasure. So
God bless, Mama. You're not feeling good, are you, love? All right, Grandma's right here with you. You know that.
Needs to mute.
You're my love.
Hey, Sharon.
I think you're tired.
I don't know how to mute someone.
Don't worry, I've just muted her.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions before we wrap up?
There was one other kind of not so much a question, but a comment in the chat from Cindy. She says, I share the disdain for being here. Lifelong challenge. My desire to free myself from the dream is keeping it real.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Crucial. Yeah. See, the problem is we're all here hating the world. And that's what the ego wants. That's why we're watching the movie where the world is awful. the ego wants us to see the world as the cause of our unhappiness, instead of admitting the reason I'm unhappy is because I am a personal self, and it means I'm without God's love and I'm incapable of happiness. So instead, I'm going to watch a movie where the world is the reason for my unhappiness. I'm going to watch that with the ego, and I'm going to get good and unhappy. And that way I can stay a movie character, and I can blame other movie characters in the movie world, and I don't have to join with God or the Holy Spirit. I can keep my separateness, and it's someone else's fault. I'm the innocent victim. Heaven was destroyed so I could enjoy this, separate identity, which is incapable of happiness, but I want it. And I want it, and I want someone else to be responsible. I want someone else to be guilty instead of me. So yeah, again, the crucial thing is we have to have a happy dream. That means you got to look at the world and go and laugh at it with the Holy Spirit. The whole thing, all the murder and the mayhem and the cruelty and you got to laugh at the movie with the Holy Spirit. The joke the Holy Spirit wants us to get is, can you not see how funny it is that you, as God's son, could suffer like that? You're watching a movie. Anytime you're ready, let's leave the cinema. That's the funny part. It's like, look how serious you're making it. You refuse to laugh at the tiny mad idea. Yes, there's a movie. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're torturing you. You've been attacked, you've been robbed, you've lost your job, you're worried about becoming homeless, your wife cheated on you. Yeah, you're watching a movie about that. What does it have to do with you? What does that have to do with God's son? You're watching a movie. Can we just laugh at the fact that you thought that was real, that God would have that in reality? So again, our mission isn't here to fix all the despair and the hopelessness and the sadness in the world. We're here to laugh at it because it's not real. None of the movie characters are real because right behind them is God's whole innocent son, is Christ. And that's why we accept the atonement for ourselves. So our big task here is to notice when we're making people's pain real, when we're making their suffering real, when we're making their sickness real, not to mention our own, and to step back into the cinema with Jesus and be a non-judgmental awareness of it and experience myself as this awareness, which can't be sick, which can't be in pain, which is with Jesus, and to know everyone else is the same thing. Look around in the movie theater. Everyone is there. They think they're the movie character on the screen. Look around in the movie theater. The whole world's there with Jesus, with the memory of the thoughts we think with God. And up on the screen, everyone is hypnotized into themselves into thinking that they're a movie character, but they're not. So our job is to stop seeing people in the movie and look around the movie theater for them. So on that note, I think we'll wrap it up for this week. So listen, thanks a million for everyone for coming. I hope you got something out of today's session, and thanks for all your attention.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Bye.
Thank you.